Hello and welcome to For Book's Sake. I am Heather Roberts.
I am Veronica Adams, and as you can see behind Heather, we are 1852 Media.
Yes, I believe it's backwards, but such
all
is
good.
life. Yeah.
It's
We
all
got a new
good.
banner getting ready for Romanticon in July. I wanted to make sure we had a fresh new
Yay!
banner. And super excited. So you'll be able to come find us. We have some postcards and stuff that we'll be giving away at the table. And
Also, we
I'm
just love
starting.
talking to people.
Yeah, we love talking to people. If you're an author, if you're a reader, if you're a promoter, we have something for you. So come talk to us.
Yes.
And we will be selling book boxes at the event. We are blind date with the book boxes. We're going to make up maybe 20, 25 book boxes, prepackaged ones, just to make our lives a little bit easier because they do take a bit to
quite a bit of space, yes,
put together,
yes,
and all of that. So we will have those at the event. If you want to come purchase them, you can come do that. We will be listing what the genres are. So you can come early if you want to make sure that you get, one of your favorite genres. And our book boxes include tote bags and cute little keychains, coasters, just really fun bookish stuff. Page openers, holders. I can never say that. But page keepers.
yes.
There we go. Page keepers.
She got it, folks. She got it.
Yeah. That's our current freebie that we're throwing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we will also have those to purchase. And we will have several things. So we're excited. We're looking forward to it.
Good stuff.
And if you, as an author, want to, sit down and, book a little time with me to talk about potential services, I'm happy to do that too. Just let me know and we can carve out a little time. So, yeah, it's going to be great. So, looking forward to Romanticon in July, getting prepped for it.
Always a good time.
Yes. And we officially, in BookBox news, we officially launched our Shopify store that has the book boxes available on the Shopify store. So now if you don't use TikTok or don't want to use TikTok Shop, valid, fine. You can come to our website and purchase it directly through our website and we'll get it out to you.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
We've already been making boxes through the website, so I'm excited about that. And another thing we offer on our website that we don't offer in TikTok Shop is you can buy tote bags individually or the page keepers individually or the keychains individually, which you can't do on TikTok Shop.
Right.
And I'm going to be adding more things all the time. After this podcast, I'm going down to make things. So I will be adding more up there. So super excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is one of the fun sides of what we do.
It is.
Everything we do is generally enjoyable. I don't mean to make it sound like it's not, but this is just one of the more I don't know, lighthearted sort of just you get to be creative and just do whatever you want.
Exactly. It's fun and it gives me a lot of freedom to do different things and see what do I have on hand and what can I make out of it. Right. And that's pretty much how it goes. And it's bookish related. So all fun.
Always good. Yeah.
Yeah. But this week we're flying a little bit by the seat of our pants because I had seen a TikTok, as one does, and I can't find it. I can't find it. So I wanted to reference it and talk about it today, but I can't find it. And it's driving me absolute bonkers.
So one of two things has happened here. Either the creator has deleted the video and it no longer exists.
Very possible.
Or Heather has consumed so many TikToks since seeing this one that she can't find it in her watch history.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Could be those things.
And here's the thing. I commented on the video, but I did not like it. And thus the conundrum.
Yeah.
So what was the video, you may ask? The video was a creator who was talking about an article that she had posted behind her. I'm now questioning if this article was recent or not based upon my own searching for said article.
Yes.
Veronica searching for said article.
Yes. We did a bit of sleuthing to see if we could find the article for context.
Yeah. And we cannot. But here's the thing. It's the same old same old shit, different day. I mean, it was talking about how traditional publishing was saying essentially that, reading is dying and no one buys books
The
anymore.
sky is falling
The
because
sky
we
is
have to share the
falling.
market with indies now.
Yeah. Doesn't say that, but that's essentially how I
I mean,
took it.
that's the point. Yes.
Right. And they were saying how like their budget is mainly made up of, selling classics. They sell the classics, and those are consistent sellers every single year. Why? Of course, because books require those to be purchased. And so those always get an influx every year. It's like guaranteed money, right? Like that's their, it's the 80/20 rule, right?
Yeah.
Like they are guaranteed that money so they can base their business model off of that. And then, the rest of it, they can go and, take different risks and use
Right.
that budget for, potential new authors who are
Mm-hmm.
coming up or their advances on other books
Right.
and hope that those hit and go, come out of the water. But yeah, then they were talking about how, the average book doesn't sell more than 1,000 copies,
Mm-hmm.
which is true. However, it didn't talk about the other half of the industry, or really maybe even three-quarters of the industry now. It didn't talk about the other part of the industry, which is indie authors
Yeah.
and small presses that are coming up.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Let's not forget our friends in the trenches who are doing publishing, but in small press format, who have to compete with the behemoths, if you will.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it really just felt like the whole article was, and I feel like every time one of these articles comes out,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like publishing the big five being like, our market share is decreasing. Like that's what it sounds like to me. That's how I read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
We have been controlling and gatekeeping this industry for literally decades. Now,
eons.
please feel bad for us while technology makes it possible for people to actually get their books out there and make money without us making sure that they are in business with us or are prohibited from doing so.
Yeah,
Like
like
it's
the gatekeepers are mad. That's what it comes down to.
it's elitism.
Yeah.
It's almost monopolizing, honestly. Like
Mm-hmm.
the concept is, if we aren't in charge of it, it doesn't belong in the market. So please feel bad for us as we are losing money to these individuals and small presses
Yeah.
who are
And I'll say this again. I've said this before. I will say it again and again and again. In this day and age, unless there is some major reason to go with a traditional publisher,
Mhm.
why? Why would you go to it? I mean, I was right. Unless there's some big money reason, or they're offering you certain distribution that you could not otherwise receive, or maybe they're offering you a deal on a series where you just it's older series, right? Or,
Right.
past series, and they're going to remarket it, rebrand it, and put it out in a different distribution channel. Valid. But for a brand new title, where if you are a successful indie author, why would you share your money with someone else? Because I've spoken to authors
Right.
who have done these deals for new titles that are coming out, and they don't sell any better than when they are publishing them themselves. And then they're like, why am I giving them half of my
Mhm.
profits?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. For what? What did they give me? So it makes sense if you're doing it for something that where they're giving you something. You need
Right.
to get
Right.
something out of this deal.
Advance a lucrative multi-book deal, a contract that includes really great physical distribution in brick and
Right.
mortar stores that will allow you to potentially compete for a spot on the New York Times bestseller list or the Wall Street
Right.
Journal bestseller list, or
Some
now the
special
USA
edition,
Today
something,
bestseller list.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Something. They need to be offering you something more than just a regular book
Mhm.
deal with average distribution and no marketing budget.
Right. And you not having your rights back for 10 plus years.
Right. Right. Don't do that. Why
Yeah,
would you do that in this
exactly.
day and age?
Right.
And I've seen, yeah. So my point is there are valid reasons to work with traditional publishing,
Absolutely.
and so I'm not saying that the whole thing is, whatever, but the, there's a good bit of it that is no longer relevant to the
Right.
conversation.
Right.
And you are no more of a real author than if you're traditionally published or independently published.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, if you're independently published, you are running your own publishing house. You
You
are
are.
the head of your own publishing
That's
house.
right.
So, like, come on now. Let's look at yourself and value yourself a little bit higher here.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And people, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, you were going to say something.
no, I was just thinking about how offensive it is that we have this sort of David and Goliath setup,
Yeah.
and the Goliaths have the audacity to complain about the market
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
When they have they have the staff, they have the resources, and they have the access to look inward and innovate and become even better than they were before if they really want to control the market. They just choose not to.
They just don't want to.
They're the old guard. They want things done the way
Yeah.
they've always done them. They want to protect the model that they've built. And there are a lot of authors who've benefited from that, and good for them. They've written really great books.
Yeah.
And, I'm not trying to take anything away from their accomplishments.
Not at all.
But it's tasteless, I think, for the Big Five to be crying about having to share the market with indies.
Right.
I mean,
or just even not to even mention them as like in existence, like that. That's the biggest problem. They don't even mention them when they're talking about these issues that they're bringing up.
Well, that's the elitism in the industry is what it is.
Right.
And you're not really a published author until you have a traditional publisher.
And they don't even matter, except they are making up such a huge portion of the market. And it's not that people aren't reading your books anymore.
Right.
People are reading. I mean, we've seen it. We know people are reading. People are coming in droves to book conventions. Huge influx of people have come into the industry in the past several years, and it's continuing to grow.
Kindle Unlimited and Kobo Plus, baby. I mean...
Yeah. It's not that people are not reading. They just don't want to spend $30 on a hardback or a paperback unless it's something they really want.
Yeah. They're finding new ways to do so. And within their ever limited budgets, which is the topic for a completely different podcast, but also kind of relevant to the situation.
Yeah. But that's why Kindle Unlimited is so popular, and it continues to increase in popularity because of the budget constraints.
For sure.
Readers are voracious when they get into the independently, published authors, the books in Kindle Unlimited. It is not uncommon for people to read 7 to 15 books in a week.
Oh, easily.
Easy.
There is a reason that many indie authors are just absurdly prolific, because the demand is there.
100%.
The days of having 2, maybe 3 books published a year through your traditional publishing house, there are authors who are still doing very well commercially through that business model, right?
Absolutely.
And they're the anchor brands for their publishers, obviously. I mean, we could start listing names now, but I don't think that's necessary. For indie authors, the idea is you write and it's a totally different way of making money publishing books.
Right.
Meeting this demand for the most voracious readers who are, not all of them are reading through a subscription model, but a lot of them do. A lot of them do.
If you look at Amazon Top 100, a lot of them do. That's
what
they're,
But how much of that is Amazon protecting Amazon, right? You're going to need the KU books in the top 100 because Amazon's going to take care of Amazon.
Of course, but also people are reading that. That is, it's both things are true in that scenario.
Right. But if we were to compare, and we'll never be able to do this because there's no transparency with the data.
Right.
But if we were to compare unit sales for a traditionally published book that's not available in KU with the unit sales and total page reads of an indie book that's in KU, ranked similarly to one another, are we going to discover that the trad book actually sold more copies? Or are we going to discover that the indie book, when you add up all the KU reads, has actually been read more than the trad book has been sold? You know, like we'll never really know.
We'll never know. Interesting
But
fun
it's fun to
fact.
speculate.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, interesting fun fact, there are traditional publishers that have deals that allow them to put their books in KU and also not be exclusive to Kindle
Yes,
Unlimited.
there is a framework
And
out there in the universe where publishing houses are allowed to be both wide and in KU.
it is infuriating because they get the special privilege of
Yeah.
getting those page reads and getting the Amazon algorithm
Yeah.
boost without being forced to be exclusive to
Yeah.
Amazon. And it's just another situation of where the rules are different for the elite, right?
True.
We're the peons down here. We're
True.
the peasants, and
The
we have to follow. Yeah,
hustlers get screwed while the institutions get all of the bonus and benefits.
and the perks.
Yep.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
For
But
sure.
I found that, my main takeaway from the article, because listen, it was the same shit regurgitated that we've seen over
Sure.
and over and over.
Sure.
But my main takeaway was that they didn't even mention the indie publishing industry. And they mentioned Colleen Hoover, because of course they did. And basically said that she blew up because of TikTok. And I was like, what? Also, I mean, yeah, okay. Colleen Hoover became a household name because of TikTok. Colleen Hoover, however, was a very established, well-known author before TikTok.
Colleen Hoover's in a new tax bracket because of TikTok, but
Yes.
Colleen Hoover has been a rock star in romance for 10
For a
plus
while.
years.
Yeah, for a while. She's been writing for over a decade now, I believe.
Everybody in our world knew Colleen or
Yeah.
knew of Colleen or had read Colleen before
Yeah.
TikTok even existed.
Right. And so when people are like, this author blew up because of TikTok. No,
Yeah,
not
she did.
I mean, she did, but also but also she was wildly popular before TikTok even
Colleen was
existed.
doing all right before TikTok. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And good for Colleen. I mean,
No, absolutely.
Yeah, this is no shade to Colleen at all. It's just it was just how they were phrasing it in the article. And also Colleen was an indie author. So to say it was this whole published
who as
until
Heather
recently
set up in the beginning has had a bunch of her backlist picked up for new distribution by publishing companies.
Which good for her, because now she has to do less work. She's trading on the brand name.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There are circumstances where it is valid to do that. But oh my God, guys, you're forgetting it's like you're missing a huge chunk of the story. And
no, they're not missing it. They're refusing to talk about it on purpose.
Yeah. It's how people want to talk about overnight successes and then don't talk about the fact that they've been working their ass off for over a decade to get this overnight success.
Right.
And, it's just infuriating because things don't happen like that overnight. Like they just don't. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for years before that overnight success occurs. Yeah. And nobody remembers that.
It's true.
Because I guess as humans, we're just pre-programmed to want to believe in the magic pill.
Literally for everything.
Yeah, for everything.
How can I get the thing that I want, the fastest, the easiest, the cheapest?
Yeah. Like instant gratification. How do I get it?
Yeah.
How do I get it?
Yeah.
So it's just very fascinating. But yeah, that was the article that I saw that I cannot find. And I commented on it basically that, yes, this is true, but only telling part of the story.
Right.
And I can't find the video again. So either it's been taken down or I just can't find it in my watch history.
It's buried in there with all the other stuff.
Because I watched too many TikToks.
Like a pair of old shoes at the back of the closet. Heather may never see that video again.
I shall not. I was able to find soccer players trying Pilates for the first time, but not that video.
That's fun.
That actually was hilarious.
Okay.
Highly recommend that video. That was funny. They were humbled real quick.
I bet.
But yeah, that was the big news from this week that I've seen. And I'm scrolling through Threads because now I'm on Threads.
Thank you,
And
RT.
yeah, I'm on Threads. You're welcome. I'm there so you don't have to be. It's actually not
She
as,
means that literally. I am not on Threads.
yeah,
She's on Threads, but I am not.
yeah. It's honestly not as bad as Twitter. It's really not. It's similar, but
I I
more
can't
like
do it.
baby Twitter. Remember when
I
Twitter wasn't a massive cesspool? Like,
no. I was never a Twitter. I was never a tweeter, if you will. Okay, like
yeah, I never cared to let anybody know how much I was doing, like how frequently I was doing. You know what I mean?
yeah, it just was
Yeah.
not for me ever, never ever.
But on Threads, people are just talking about just general stuff. Why would you ever considering publishing indie? Would you consider going trad? Like it's the same conversations that we've had for
Why
years
would
over and over
what would you
again.
ever consider going indie? I get complete creative control and all of the financial reward from my efforts.
Yeah.
Or I share all of my profits and turn over a lot of the decision making to a company who may or may not pay me in advance and who may or may not fully support the marketing component of my book launch. I
Yeah.
mean,
Exactly.
that contract's got to be pretty sweet,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you
It's
said
gotta
before,
be. It's
you
gotta
know?
be.
But I mean, that's us, right? Not everybody feels that way. Some
I
people,
mean,
our buddy, do you remember our buddy Nate?
I do remember our buddy Nate.
Nate has this, Nate has it in his head that there is no other way to become a legitimate author but to hit the New York Times bestseller list, right?
Right. Right. And people do have that in their heads.
Right. So for Nate, perhaps pursuing traditional publishing should have been the move.
Right. That should have been the move for him. But yeah, I think I mean I've even spoken to literary agents who their entire job, they don't get paid unless
Right.
they make book deals.
Right. Right.
And they have the same opinion that we do. And they're like, there's certain circumstances where I'm looking at a client and I'm saying, why do you want to do this?
Right.
Like,
What
why am I shopping this book for you?
this does not give you what you think you're going to be getting out of this deal. Like it's
Yeah,
just you're giving up too much.
right.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's sometimes valid reasons for it. And that obviously that eats into her own pocket, So the fact that she's willing to be that transparent, I love.
For sure.
And that's great for her. But yeah, it's just absolutely wild that some people value that above anything else.
Mhm.
And that's not going to, I don't know. I value money in the industry more than anything else, right? Like, and I talk to our clients about this. Like, what are your goals? This is part of what we do. What are your
Yes.
goals? And most of them, their goal is to make money.
Right.
Some of them have like, the offshoot goals, like I want to do this, like get this award or do that, like, along the way. But I
Right.
would say their overarching goal is to make money. And it's a business. So of course it is.
Yeah.
And hitting those esoteric things like the New York Times is esoteric because God only knows how they magic ape all that shit.
It's certainly not based on sales alone.
Correct. So trying to get onto one of those lists, I mean, that's a great offshoot side quest, but that shouldn't be the main plot, my
Right.
friends.
Right.
It shouldn't be because then you're focused on the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you can see, like, you can look at the list in its current form and even go back through previous lists, and you can see from the books that get selected what the editorial preference is at the New York Times.
Yeah, 100%.
They completely shun certain genres, romance being the biggest one.
Oh yeah, they don't
Because
love that.
anything that matters to women or entertains women or that women find valuable has no value.
Yeah.
Again, topic for another podcast, but
I mean, we could talk about that on this one. I saw another TikTok. I forgot about that one. That raged me so much I just had to scroll. Where they were talking about how on Book Talk, like why is everything spicy these days? Like why is like, and I'm like, one, if your entire TikTok feed is spicy, that's that's a you problem.
Mhm.
Like the algorithm is feeding you what it,
You are responsible for
yeah.
what the algorithm shows you, whether you like it or not.
Right. There are other avenues of book talk that are non-spicy.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
if that's
Absolutely.
your jam, maybe start engaging or searching for those things.
Follow those creators. Yes.
Yeah. But also, why are we shaming that we are having sex in books again? Like, why do these
You
things
know
keep coming?
why.
Why do these things keep coming back up? It just drives me nuts. These are
You know why.
cyclical things. I know the puritanical nature of our culture and all the bullshit. I'm aware. But that also goes into when we're talking about this. We've talked about this before with the discrete covers and all of
Right.
that.
Right.
Are we feeding into a culture that is praising, us being of women being more submissive and demure and modest,
Mhm.
which like
Take
triggers
your
my
take your
religious trauma.
smut and be as secretive about it as you can, or don't take your smut at all. Like,
Correct.
get in line and don't offend anybody with the fact that you are a sexual being who enjoys spicy content. Like,
Yeah.
it it's bullshit, okay? It's bullshit. OnlyFans and Pornhub exist. Why
Yeah.
can't women read spicy fucking romances?
Yeah. And it's not porn. And I know that the resurgence of the word smut has come back up. Like it's resurged, right? I
Yeah.
just said the same thing
It,
twice. But
it's having a moment.
it's
We are
having
in
a
our
moment.
smut era, if you
Yeah.
will.
And I love that in a reclamation sense. Like we're reclaiming the word smut and we're going to
Sure.
make it our own.
Sure.
But then in the same vein, others are now taking that word and making it turn into porn,
Hmm.
which it's
Yes.
not, and
Yes.
making it a dirty thing,
Right.
which it's not. Dirty as in like disgusting and vile, not like dirty as in like delicious and um
That was an official marketing delineation for those
yes.
of you.
But it really bothers me because now we have smut, right? And now we have
Uh-huh.
clean books. And when we talk about clean books, I hate using that term and I don't like that term because clean and dirty to me, it gives moral values
Right.
to sex.
Well, and this is applicable beyond sex too. I
Yeah.
do some work for a non-romance author whose reviews are by and large very, very, very good. But there is an occasional pearl clutcher who's like, this book would have been better if there just hadn't been language. Like, and like clean versus not clean applies beyond romance too,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
violence, adult language, I mean just all sorts of things, okay? Like
Like,
in horror, the amount of open scenes with gore, I mean it's just everything.
yeah.
The idea of what is good and allowable versus what is bad and should be shamed and like
Or censored. This
removed
is what
removed from the culture or censored.
right.
Right,
And I think
exactly.
I'm so triggered by it because we are in an age of such censorship.
Yes. Yes,
And
we
we
are.
are, we're in an age of basically book burning, which is
Pretty
fucking
close. Yeah.
wild that like Ray Bradbury is like rolling in his grave. But it's truly wild. And so being in this age of censorship, and then when we as an industry put those terms upon things, labeling them as such,
Mhm.
it worries me. And this is coming from the lawyer political science,
For sure. For sure.
side of me.
Yes.
It worries me as a culture when we do things like that. Right. Right. Because if it's labeled now as
Yeah.
smut or it's labeled as clean or it's
Right.
now we're putting these good and bad labels on things that
Exactly.
are going to potentially be used against them in the future.
Hmm.
And I say that sort of joking, but also sort of not.
Well, but like, no. Think about what we as a company have taken a stand to support and represent over the years too. There
Right.
are a lot of people in our community that would not support erotica, that would not support certain subgenres that include kink,
Yeah.
And we are inclusive and friendly as a company, and we are here to help you market whatever you write.
100%.
But there are a lot of corners in our community that don't accept some of the books that our clients have written, and some that that continue to write those things.
Yeah, I mean, we have books in our arsenal, if you will, clients in ours
Yes.
in our firm who write really kinky stuff.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then some who write
Email us if you want some recommendations.
yeah, really kinky stuff. I mean, I have helped market a Who Cow book romance before. Like,
who hasn't? We have both
you know,
had that experience. Like,
yeah. Like some wild stuff.
yes.
And then we've also flipped to the complete other end of the spectrum, and we
totally clean, sweet,
like
closed
door, everything, Hallmarky feel to it.
Not even fade to black, just like the suggestion that perhaps there was something else happening, but it's a new scene. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like massive closed door.
Yes.
And because some people just want that. And that's okay. Right? Like that's fine. So we've
books
swung.
Sell. Like there's a demand for them. Like no shame.
And that's
in that.
valid. And there's no shame in that either. I just don't like the tags that we put on it.
Yes.
There's no shame in what you like. That's my whole point. Like we will support what you like on either end of the spectrum or somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
But we just need to, as a society,
love a contemporary rom-com.
Yeah. Small town romance. We as a society, I think, need to stop putting judgments on those things and stop putting moral markers on them. Yeah. Because it's fine if you like the super, super kinky stuff. And if you don't like that, that's okay. Don't read it.
Yeah.
Don't read it.
Well, it's going back to our David and Goliath elites versus the hustlers situation. I mean, there's this level of condescension from the folks who would have spicy smut censored, right? Like, we're better than you.
Yes, yes.
And we're too good for your prurient libertine, too sexy for, our pearl clutching.
They're right to fretting this.
Religious, moral values, whatever is behind that. Because for some people, it's just like, I'm really uncomfortable with that. For other people, it really is like a moral and ethical issue, right? Like they think it's wrong. Okay, fine.
But you're right. You can believe whatever you want. The second you start pushing your beliefs on someone else, that's when we start having issues.
Consenting adults alone.
Correct.
Please.
Correct. Let people read what they want.
Yes.
And, we could go into the whole, minors thing and all of that. It is a topic to discuss because that is a lot of where the censorship comes in, right? Like what should be in libraries, what should be in public libraries, school libraries. That's a whole conversation. That's another hour and a half long podcast that we could go into.
We should do that.
We really can. We can do that next time, talking about censorship and all of that. But
yeah, if nothing goes to shit in the book world this next week, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that. But I'll just say, I'm a parent. Veronica's a parent.
Yes.
I had to make choices about what I thought was appropriate for my child to read. You will make choices about what you think your child is appropriate to read. And that's our business. And just like it's your business to decide what your child is appropriate to read. Yep. Where it basically ends. I mean, there's other markers and we can go into that. Like there's other things that should be discussed because when the state comes into play, then there's a different feel.
100%. Yeah.
But at a basic level, you as a parent always get to decide what your minor child consumes in media. That's why some parents get to do screen time for their children and some don't. And some, let them read spicy romances when they're 12 and some don't. Like, it's just, it's a parental preference. And also, the parents are in the best place to make that choice for their specific children because they know their child. They know if their child's mature enough to handle it. They know their child, will come to them for questions.
Sure.
where they can have open conversations with this. I unfortunately,
I'm contrasting this with my experience growing up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I grew up
unsupervised with a library card by the age of 10. So like,
I grew up in a very very closed, environment, religious
yes,
environment,
yes,
where I was not allowed to do pretty much anything, let alone consume romance books or anything of the like. I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter. Okay. So, like, that's where we were at. And look at me now, guys. So, needless to say, it didn't work.
right, right.
So, there's that too, you have to consider as a parent.
Yeah.
If you try to limit too much, can that have additional, issues in the future? Like, will that just backfire on you?
Well, yeah.
Because
I mean, I think my parents, although I not raised evangelical like you, but also not in such a closed environment. My parents were so busy working that I think they just trusted me not to make decisions that would somehow violate our family's core religious beliefs.
right.
And then by the time like I said, I was unsupervised with a library card by the time I was 10. So,
yeah.
Well,
and they talk about, if you raise in a really strict household, you are essentially breeding sneaky kids.
Of course you are.
And
you're teaching them to lie to you and try to hide things from you because they can't trust you.
I mean,
now we have to do a parenting podcast.
I know.
Listen to us.
We've gone off course. But it goes into the whole reading thing.
It's totally relevant. Yes.
It's very relevant to the reading thing. And that's why, and if you choose to do something different with your children, that's your choice.
Of course.
But we wanted to have a very open relationship with our son. Our son he's turning 18 next week. And it's just wild. But I mean, I've let him read whatever he wanted since 12, 11, 12.
Yeah.
He's had full access to my Kindle, and I've known what he reads because it pops up like, on the first. But surprisingly, he wasn't interested in my stuff. He wasn't interested in what I was reading. He went and found his own YA, age appropriate romances.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was interested in. He read a couple of mine, but the novelty wore off really quickly for him.
Right.
And he was really more interested.
He's not the target audience.
Right. And so he went and found on his own more age appropriate titles.
Right.
And started reading those. And it was just really interesting to see that. Like once it wasn't a taboo thing. It was like, oh, I can read this. I'm like, the interest was gone.
Yep.
He read one and was like, all right, I'm going to go find something else now. And that's usually how it happens.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. This is slight parenting, reading censorship. This is what happens when we don't have an outline to a podcast.
Note to self, must plot podcast, no pantsing allowed.
I know. This is a pure pantsing podcast. I think Veronica said last time that Heather's really prepared. I usually am. Usually am. Today, not so much. But these are all really important.
You can occasionally catch her.
Yeah. These are all important topics, though, in our current culture. They're all so relevant.
Well, no, and I think it all goes back to, like, if we could distill it down to one basic idea, it's the idea that the elitism, the snobbery, the condescension, the censorship, the competition stifling, all of those things are bad for the industry.
Yeah. They are.
And authors and industry support professionals and readers, by and large, need to take a stand against all of that.
Exactly. And let people read what they want and don't shame them for reading whatever it is on either side.
And if you're pissed off that the market isn't serving the profits that it used to, then maybe take a look inside your own organization and find ways to innovate and compete. Right. Very good.
Note to traditional publishers.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we'll call it a day. But I
Cool.
think next week, barring any
Listen,
massive crisis,
shit hits the fan around here all the time.
it does. But we will definitely put that on the list for future episodes talking about libraries and censorship within
For sure.
libraries, because I think that is a really interesting take. And Veronica and I can give an interesting perspective with that
Absolutely.
whole law degree thing that we have going on for us. So,
Yep.
yeah, we'll give you a little legal 101 on censorship coming right at you.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.